Hey everybody, Andy Gross from the Law Office of Andrew P. Gross. We do Veterans Disability Benefits appeals for veterans of the U.S. military, whether they're located right here in Maryland or anywhere on the planet Earth, or I guess in space even for our Space Guardian friends. We also do elder law and estate planning for veterans and their families in D.C. and Virginia. Today I wanted to answer a question that we've gotten from the internet. And that question that we got from the internet is, how do I get a 100% rating for my post-traumatic stress disorder? Well, that's actually a little bit of a long topic that we're going to get into in just a moment, but let's talk a little bit about the claims process first, right? So first, you filed for VA disability, either online or with the VA Form 21-526. I've talked about that in other videos. You've submitted stressor statements. If you have a psychologist or a counselor on the outside, you've maybe submitted those records. You've submitted what the VA needs to make a decision. They're going to send that case off to that claim and pension exam. And that claim and pension exam is going to fill out what's called a disability benefits questionnaire, which is a several-page form that's going to ask a lot of different questions about things like, when were you first diagnosed? What are your symptoms? And there's a list of like 30 symptoms ranging from gross disturbances of mood to poor personal hygiene, inability to maintain personal hygiene, to memory disturbances, to suicidal and homicidal ideations. And that's like 4 of the 25, 30 different symptoms that they can check off the block on that form. The psychologist is then going to go and look at things like, are you employed? Why are you employed? And again, this is not an assessment for total disability based on individual unemployability, but this is kind of along those lines because they're going to ultimately want to answer the next question, which is the degree of social and occupational impairment, right? Now, social and occupational impairment are words directly out of the Code of Federal Regulations. And for that, we're going to turn to 38 CFR 4.130. Again, that's 38 Code of Federal Regulations, section 4.130. And you'll see, once you start scrolling through there, is that they do basically rate all of this behavioral health conditions the same. Anywhere from 0%, which is a mental condition that has been formally diagnosed, but symptoms are not severe enough to interfere with occupational or social functioning, or require continuous medication. And they go 10, 30, 50, 70, and 100%. Now, in order to be 100% disabled because of your PTSD or other psychological health, behavioral health condition, you need to meet the following criteria. Total occupational and social impairment due to such symptoms as gross impairment in thought process or communication, persistent delusions or hallucinations, grossly inappropriate behavior, persistent danger of hurting self or others, intermittent inability to perform activities of daily living, including maintenance of minimal personal hygiene, disorientation to time or place, memory loss for names of close relatives, own occupation, or own name. Now, right below that is the 70% rating, which I'll try to read a little bit better this time. Occupational and social impairment with deficiencies in most areas, such as work, school, family relations, judgment, thinking, or mood, due to such symptoms as suicidal ideation, obsessional rituals which interfere with routine activities, speech intermittently illogical, obscure, or irrelevant, near continuous panic or depression affecting the ability to function independently, appropriately and effectively, impaired impulse control, spatial disorientation, neglect of personal appearance and hygiene, difficulty in adapting to stressful circumstances, including work-life-like settings, or inability to establish and maintain effective relationships. You might be thinking, well, I'm working. How can I have 100% or even a 70% PTSD rating? Well, your work may have accommodated you, which is great that they've done that. Or you may have found a job that doesn't require you to work with other people directly, right? So if you have severe PTSD and you're a computer programmer sitting at home in your home office or in your basement or wherever you may be, plugging away at a keyboard, and you don't really have to deal with others, well, that might be perfect for you and your circumstance because you are not, you don't have, your irritability or your impulse control may not manifest itself in that situation. But in order to get that 100%, losing work or being unable to work because of it, or having to really narrow what kind of work you can do, that starts to come into play. Now, how do we prove social impairment? And the way I think we prove social impairment and even occupational impairment are statements from those around you who know you. It might say something like, so-and-so never goes to parties, or they don't go to social gatherings, or they can't go to the grocery store during busy hours because of an anxiety of large groups, or just behaviors that are out of the ordinary for that individual based on these social impairments or what these social impairments look like. Now, if you've been granted service connection post-traumatic stress, one of the first things you want to do to make sure that you've gotten the correct rating is to make sure the C&P has actually identified all the symptoms that you are experiencing. Personally, when I look through these files, I'll often see that they might check 5 or 6 of the blocks for the symptoms, but then you look at the medical records and there are 7 or 8 different things that are actually there that should have been checked on the form. You might also want to look at work history, and if the veteran has switched jobs a lot, or if you're the veteran and you've switched jobs a lot, they might also explain your post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, the thing is that when you're done, when the CMP is over and they've checked the block for the degree of social and occupational impairment, that's going to go back to what they call the RVSR, the Rating Veteran Service Representative, and a lot of times they'll just take the CMP exam and go, all right, check the block on 70% because that's what block the psychologist checked. What we want to look for, though, when we do these appeals is what else is in the records, because the RVSR and the decision review officers actually will look at the records too, and they'll actually look at the mental health records that are in the file and say, wait a second, this person is not functioning nearly as well as their CMP exam says they are. And sometimes we can squeeze a little bit more of a higher rating just because, without even a new exam, just because the records themselves show conditions that are more severe than the CMP exam catches. Again, every case is different, and this is why it's important when you get a rating decision not to sit on it, right? So if you get a 30 or 50% rating and you think that's too low, it's time to talk to an attorney such as myself, or if you have a VSO you're working with, talk to them about appealing. You only have 1 year to appeal, generally speaking, so it's important to get on that quickly. With that said, if you've been granted a low rating and you think you deserve higher, or you've been granted or been denied altogether for your for what you believe is your service-connected mental health disorder or your post-traumatic stress disorder, give us a call. All that information is in the description of this video. If you like this video, like, subscribe, share it to other friends, your fellow veterans. I'm trying to just put out as much information as possible, help veterans understand the process and understand what to look for when they apply and they get their own ratings back. And if you have a question or a thought for a video, feel free to hit us up in the comments or send us an email, and we'll see what we can do to make some content out of it. Anyway, I hope I answered your questions, but until next time, take care.